Hey everybody, so for this week's update of our lovely shenanigans from our representatives in Boise, I thought I'd get a little comfortable because we need to settle in because there's a lot that's going on. Fun fact, I had friends from all over the country send me news clippings from Idaho. We made national news this week, everybody, so good for us. Unfortunately, most of what we made national news for was pretty icky. So let's get going. Let's settle in. Let's get comfortable. And let's talk about some of the shenanigans and what we can do. Now, a lot of these shenanigans are past, which is why, as always, we're starting out with Medicaid expansion. We've got our Medicaid expansion watch. On Friday morning, there will be a bill introducing work requirements. As we know, as we've seen, they will cost more. They will do less to cover people, and it's something that our own representative Bryan Zollinger has been in favor of. He suggested a similar bill to this, but now apparently he is hiding behind Vander Woude. So this is actually a bill from Vander Woude. It is going before committee on Friday morning, which is March 8th. So you have some time to contact people, to let your representatives know, and also to contact the Health and Welfare Committee. So last night there was a meeting from Reclaim Idaho talking about what we could do, some actions we could take. And so even though that's passed and we can't do that now, I did include a link. So the link does talk about the meeting, but if you scroll down on the link, you'll see some actions you can take along with people that you can contact about this issue, like specific people making decisions about whether this bill is going to make it through the hearing and the next steps it'll go through. So check out that link here in item number two over here in the description. Check out that link and make sure that you take some action. Make a few phone calls, seriously. Make a couple phone calls today, make a couple phone calls tomorrow, make a couple phone calls Thursday. Make some phone calls, send some emails. Let our representatives know that the people passed Medicaid expansion and they knew what they were doing. We're not stupid. We've been having this problem for more than 6 years. We've been trying to get our legislators to do things for more than 6 years, and they haven't. So now we've done it, and they're fighting us. So take some action. You can do that. We've also got a link there to the Idaho Dems also has a no barriers to Medicaid expansion link that you can use to contact representatives, so make sure you're doing that. So it's really important to be engaged in this issue and to pay attention. So many people I have talked to, including 3 people that I have talked to in the last week, have said to me, oh, but that passed, didn't it? Didn't that pass? And they think that because it's passed and because we passed this law, this ballot measure, they think because it's passed, the fight is over. And sadly, it is not. So we've got that issue that we do need to be aware of. So make sure you're making some contacts. Make sure that you are on top of the situation and that you are paying attention, because, and that's the thing, it feels like I've been talking about this a lot, and it feels like every week I'm like, hey, let's do something to save Medicaid expansion. That is because every single week, they are introducing something new that will hamstring Medicaid expansion. I am not kidding, okay? I shit you not, every single week, they are looking for ways, new bills to put into committee, new ways to hamstring this situation so that they can make it fail. And once it fails, then they'll say, I told you so. So these people are actually governing by sabotage. Our so-called representatives are governing by sabotage, and they are trying to make this initiative fail. And every time we beat back an attack on Medicaid expansion, they introduce a new one. Every time. So if you are getting tired of me talking about this every week, we really just need to do something once and for all. Because the reality of the situation is every single time we do this, every single time we beat back one of their attacks, they turn around and introduce a new bill, send a new bill to committee, try a new tactic. So we have to remain vigilant, and we have to keep moving forward because they keep coming up with new attacks. So even if you think, oh, well, it already passed. Yeah, it already passed, and it should be cut and dry, but it is not, because these folks are going up against us. So take some action there. Check out number 2, see who you can call, and then while you're at it, as always, first comment will have a link to, as always, the first comment will have a link to the local contact information for our local representatives, because you're going to need it. And that is because every single one of our Bonneville County representatives last week voted against a bill that would have ended child marriage for those under 16 in Idaho. So that is correct. So now we've moved on to the family values portion of of this week's shenanigans. Every single one, even people that we are like, oh yeah, they're moral, decent people, even those folks here in Bonneville County voted against this bill to end child marriage. Okay, so we are in a situation where, due to religious freedom, it is okay for parents to let their children die. They don't have to give their children medical attention. It is okay for them to let their children die, but we're not going to protect them from child marriage. We're going to force them into these child marriages. On top of that, of course, we're looking at a bill. Oh, anyway, it's frustrating. But this is one of the items that actually made national news this week. I had a friend send it to me. It made the front page of Reddit. Good for us. Yay, Idaho. Another thing to keep in mind is that this bill also means that we are not entirely a scroll down state. Well done, Idaho. We have a number 1 recognition. Our number 1 recognition is we are the state in the United States with the highest percentage of child marriages. So yay for us, I guess. Hurrah. And now we can continue that. We can continue to defend our position as number 1 in child marriages because every single one of our representatives in Bonneville County voted against the bill to end child marriage. So that's where we're at right now. Once again, contact information will be in the first comment. So you can contact our representatives and let them know what you think of that. So really think about that. Keep that in mind next year. 2020 is coming up. So keep that in mind for 2020, that every single one of our representatives in Bonneville County voted against this bill that would have ended child marriage for those under 16 in Idaho. So we still have child marriage in Idaho. We can still be number 1. So let's keep that in mind. Another thing to keep in mind is that we've got, another bill that was recently introduced is a bill that would allow concealed carry in elementary schools. So that is Representative Chad Christensen. He's in District 34. He lives in Ammon. So he is introducing a bill that would allow concealed carry in elementary schools. So yeah, we'll let our children die for want of medical attention. We'll insist that parents opt in for sex ed and know they can opt, and then make schools tell them that they can opt out for vaccinations, but we won't require teachers to let parents know they're armed. So that's family values, you guys. That is family values. Also, as part of this, was it a publicity stunt before he introduced his bill? I don't know. But he also, Chad Christensen also called for a boycott of the restaurant Bacon in Boise. I'll be in Boise a week from this Friday, so I'm going to try and go to Bacon. But he called for a boycott of Bacon because what they did was a number of the staff and the other people in the restaurant were uncomfortable because Representative Christensen was in there with friends and they were all using open carry. So they were all openly carrying their weapons, and a lot of people were uncomfortable. And so the manager came over and talked to them, said that patrons, so other customers, as well as the staff, were uncomfortable. And so he didn't kick them out. They just pulled a curtain over the booth so that other people would not, they made they made public accommodations for them and made sure that they weren't kicked out, and they made accommodations even though other people were uncomfortable. And so they did that. And of course, there was all this backlash, against it. Oh, they should be able to have open carry, which I find very interesting, because these are the same people who think that if you're LGBTQ, then it's okay to discriminate against you in businesses. So really think about it, people. Like, where do businesses have their rights or not? So do businesses have the right to discriminate against LGBTQ people and gun owners, or do they have to provide public accommodations for both? So figure that out, figure out where you stand, figure out what kind of hypocrisy you want to engage in, and then let us know. But yeah, a lot of folks were talking about how also with the child marriage bill, a lot of our representatives talked about how with the child marriage bill, the government shouldn't be involved in marriage. So if that's the case, why did they fight so long against marriage equality for LGBTQ plus folks? I don't know. But, whatever. I guess figure out, where you stand, which hypocritical positions you're going to take, and then get back to us on that. Get back to us on how much you think businesses should be able to discriminate, and who they're allowed to discriminate against, because apparently Chad Christensen thinks it's totes cool to discriminate against LGBTQ people, but he should not, but a private business should not tell him what he can do with his gun. So, figure out how you feel about private business rights and kind of go from there, I guess. It's a whole thing. You got to figure that out. So, next, we have got a fun new bill that would actually make it harder for citizen initiatives to make it on the ballot. So back in the day, when the Luna laws were introduced, there was a ballot measure to repeal them. And the state legislature didn't like that, so they made new laws to make it even harder, to get a ballot initiative done. So when the Medicaid Expansion citizens rose up and did this was in the face of overwhelming odds. So, the Medicaid Expansion people did more than anyone thought they could do, and honestly, even more than I thought they could do, and it was amazing and inspiring, and it was so great to see citizens take the reins and govern, because that is the point, right? That is what our progression has been over the past 200 years, has been toward, more citizen involvement, more citizen engagement. And as we are a more educated and engaged citizenry, we can do more in terms of figuring out how we are governed. Anyway, the state legislature is, of course, upset with this fact. They are super upset. So Scott Grow has introduced legislation to make it even harder to get a ballot initiative on the ballot. So not content to just simply not do their jobs and everything, they want to also make it harder for us to take over when they are just basically sitting on their hands and doing nothing. So they're trying to make it harder. So once again, contact, let people know that this is unacceptable. Changing this is ridiculous. They're trying to make it harder, and it's beautiful, the double speak they use here. I mean, my gosh, this is like straight out of 1984. So he's saying, oh, well, this will make it more accessible to more people. That's bullshit. Okay, it will not, unless more accessible to more people means make it harder. So check out the link about this. I'm actually going to insert it in here because I didn't put it in the description early, so I'm going to insert it in here in a minute. But yeah, check out that link. The problem is that, it's just ridiculous. They're going to have a full hearing on the measure, and we'll figure that out later, and we'll try and keep you updated on that, because we're going to have to go, we're going to have to watch that. We also, finally, a little bit of fun also news that made the national spotlight. So once again, good for us. Lieutenant Governor Janice McGeachin was posing with members of a group that have been designated as a white supremacy group, and they were making white supremacy hand signals. and she was making a little heart because she loves it. But this is not the first time this happened. She did remove the Facebook post after the outrage, but this is not the first time this has happened. She has had other things on her Facebook page that, indicate her affiliation with white supremacy and hate groups. So, hey, I mean, I guess this is, yay Idaho Falls, because, she is here from here in Idaho Falls. So, yay Idaho Falls, I guess, and yay Idaho for picking her over an actual decent human being, Kristen Collum. I don't know. So anyway, we're in the news for that again. So basically, as far as the national news is concerned, the rest of the country is concerned, we are white supremacist hate groups who push child marriage. These are the people representing us. These are the people that show the rest of the country and the rest of Idaho what we value. So let that sink in for a minute. We are electing people that show that Idaho values child marriage. We are showing people and ourselves that Idaho values hate groups and white supremacy. We are showing ourselves and others what we value every time we send these folks back to Boise. At what point do we start holding them accountable? And at what point do we decide that enough is enough? At what point do we stop sending them to Boise? And at what point do we have them stop representing us? So that's something to think about this week. And if you want to be actively involved and actively engaged, make sure you join us, like us on Facebook, sign up for our email list. I'll go ahead and put a link to the email list in the description as well, because if you want to fight against this version of ourselves, then it's up to us to take action. We are the government, we are who's in charge, and we need to start acting like it.